Cultural performances welcoming Prime Minister Modi. Diaspora obviously elated. A warm welcome extended for the Prime Minister Modi. Modi chants echo Vande Mataram, the tunes of Vande Mataram being heard in Tianjin, China. My colleague Swati, she is live from Tianjin. Swati, take us through, the colors, the pictures, the visuals, the excitement, all of it, which you are seeing live with your eyes.
Absolutely, and the visuals that are playing out on the screens at the moment captures the sentiment and the mood that was witnessed here. Let me in fact try and switch on the back camera of my phone and show you. The Prime Minister has gone to his room, but look at these visuals. The diaspora is pretty much here, and so are the performers, because everybody wants to meet these performers. They all want to talk to them. The thing that makes it even more important is that some of them, the performers, are Chinese nationals who have been learning Indian dance forms like Bharat Mata for 30 years now. And these people have been preserving India's culture, not just keeping it alive, but passing it on to the next generation, teaching their students the importance of Indian culture, of the Indian dance forms. That's the kind of mood and sentiment that is being witnessed here in this area where the cultural performances were organized for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And Meenakshi, it is on the screens at the moment, the visuals, where Prime Minister took out time to try and meet as many people as he could. And, like we were discussing, that's how Prime Minister Narendra Modi is. Despite a really long trip, a hectic trip, he ensured that, that the tiredness was not visible on his face. All the time, there was a warm smile on the Prime Minister's face, because still he realizes that, the diaspora, these people have been waiting for hours, 4 hours inside the venue, just to catch a glimpse of him, just to have that 4-5 second of interaction with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And that speaks volumes about the Prime Minister's aura. It speaks volumes about the kind of love and affection that he's receiving, and the special bond that, people feel with him. That's the reason why people who've been living in China for several years, working in Beijing, which is around 30 minutes away from Tianjin to take their fastest trains, were here since morning, waiting outside the venue, and then for 4-5 long hours waiting inside the venue just to catch a glimpse of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And that pretty much encapsulates the sentiment that the Indian diaspora has for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Meenakshi, back to you.
Visuals speak louder than words. The love, the warmth which the diaspora have, obviously, for the Prime Minister speaks volumes about the cultural ties as well. Swati, stay with us. Let's also take a look at the report which was filed a few minutes ago. Listen into what the diaspora had to say, viewers. So I'm joining you from the Wanda Vista Hotel, where the Prime Minister arrived a couple of minutes back, and the Indian diaspora that you can see behind me welcomed the Prime Minister. There were chants of Bharat Mata ki Jai, and the chants were only growing louder. Let me in fact speak to a couple of them. From where have you come?
I come from Hyderabad.
You've come from Hyderabad all the way for some other work, or just to...
No, I'm staying here from last 17 years.
Okay.
I do export.
So you came here to meet, just catch a glimpse of Prime Minister Modi?
Yeah. We are very excited to meet him. We got this first time appointed from him.
How was your experience?
I'm from Gujarat.
Okay. You're from the Prime Minister's hometown?
Hometown. Actually, I'm working in China only for last 15 years.
All right.
I'm just shouting the Modi, that my sound is not good. We were shouting.
You were all shouting Modi.
Modi, yeah.
I also heard Bharat Mata ki Jai shouting louder.
You can refer it.
तो गुजरात में कभी आपको प्रधानमंत्री से मिलने का मौका मिला?
कभी नहीं.
चाइना में आ गए.
सीधा चाइना में.
आप लोग कितने देर से वेट कर रहे थे?
We was waiting like 4 hours, and I came from Beijing. I stayed maybe all of 19 years, but I came from Rishikesh, and it was so wonderful experience, so joyful to see our Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi, and it was so great feeling. He's so energetic and his smile is so warm, and because of him, as I'm yoga teacher and I have my own yoga studio in Beijing, and because of him now yoga is so popular in China. More than 1 crore people practicing yoga here, and because of all him. So it was my dream to see him, and especially I came from Beijing today, and 4 hours waiting all the way here, and no lunch and nothing, and it was a proud moment to see him.
But are you happy that you waited for 4 hours?
I'm very happy. I think it's very happy meeting him, and especially this is the first time I have personally seen him, and we met him, and people were waiting for 4 hours, and we said, I also come from Beijing. I've been living here for 16 years, but this is the first time I've got the opportunity to see the Prime Minister, and people were chanting, and saying Bharat Mata ki Jai, Modi, and we could see the aura and energy of Prime Minister Modi, and because especially he's going to visit Tianjin and also participating in SCO Summit. So this is the first time after 7 years he visited here, and the whole diaspora in China have been desperately waiting to see Prime Minister Modi. So
What
we are
about
very thrilled.
your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm in Beijing since 20 years promoting yoga culture. So I'm so proud to see Modi ji today because of International Yoga Day happen later. It's so easy to promote yoga culture in China. I'm very proud. Thank you.
So can you just once again chant the way you chanted when the Prime Minister?
Yes.
Definitely.
That's the kind of josh here in the Indian diaspora. Let's now go back to my colleague Swati, who continues to be live with us at this point in time. Swati, you were bringing to us live updates from the ground, the kind of, excitement that's there among the Indian diaspora there in China. But I want to ask you specifically about what is their view as far as India-China ties are concerned, the kind of resetting of the ties that we are now seeing happening between both the countries.
Well, Hina, before I answer that question, I want the audience, our viewers, to catch a glimpse of this. These are the performances that took place when the Prime Minister was here. People also got a chance to interact with the Prime Minister. You heard some of the reactions of the diaspora saying that the Prime Minister was really warm. And, that's how they see their leader. When it is about people-to-people connect, there is no talk about politics. Yes, what happens is that when you talk about, India's culture and tradition, there are a lot of people in China. You will find a lot of people in China who are influenced by India's culture, India's tradition, and that's the reason why today you saw the Chinese citizens performing these Indian cultural dance forms for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And in fact, the group that performed Bharat Natyam, the teacher of the group herself has been practicing Bharat Natyam for 30 years. And when I asked her what your name is, she said, my Indian name is Isha. So that's the kind of influence that Indian culture and tradition has. And that is something that Prime Minister has been speaking about every time, this issue of a common connect between China and India comes to fore. We are bonded by culture, which is evident, which is what the world saw today.
Well, absolutely. And now tell us a little bit about what happens next. Prime Minister has already landed in China after a successful visit to Japan. And all eyes, of course, are going to be on the big SCO Summit. There are bilaterals that are lined up. Tell us what exactly is the next big thing that we are going to be looking forward to from China, where you are right now.
Absolutely. Hina, we know that the Prime Minister is a workaholic. The Prime Minister does not rest. He's just back from Japan, where he held a series of meetings, and now in China. He may have gone to his room, but I'm sure there is a strategy meeting which is taking place at the moment. He's already planning what is going to transpire tomorrow, because tomorrow is a big ticket event. Tomorrow is when the bilateral between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Chinese President Xi Jinping is going to take place. Much of the groundwork was already done. It was laid when the Foreign Minister of China, Mr. Wang Yi, came to India. Issues about border, issues about maintaining peace and tranquility there, the issues about disengagement, they were already discussed, and mutual interest and concerns have been highlighted by the Indian side as well. Autonomy is something that India is focusing on. Yes, we're looking at multilateral engagements, but autonomy is extremely important. And you know what? This is, I think, a common bond between India and China. Both countries are, in principle, both countries are extremely confident and sure of the fact that as far as our allies or our trade partners do not intervene and meddle in our affairs, and as long as it does not impact and affect our sovereignty and national integrity, India has no issues. But the moment that happens, which happened in Donald Trump's case, India is going to put its foot down. And like we've been discussing, yes, it is going to be about trade, it's going to be about bilateral ties, but most importantly, because remember, Pakistan is also a member of SCO. And India has been suffering from cross-border terrorism, which has been highlighted multiple times. We also know how China is an all-weather friend of Pakistan, how China views Pakistan. So that is in front of everyone. And despite the kind of relationship China shares with Pakistan, India has to tread cautiously and still build on and strengthen the relation between India and China. So to have all the member states to come together and issue a strong joint statement against issues like terrorism, separatism and extremism is going to be extremely important, because let's not forget, and this is very important to mention, that Rajnath Singh, our defense minister, a couple of months back during the SCO Defense Ministers Edition, refused to sign a joint draft because it did not have the mention of the Pahalgam terror attack, and the draft did speak about the hijacking of the Jafar Expressway. So the defense minister took a stand and said, Pahalgam has to be mentioned, or the fact that India also suffers from the issue of cross-border terrorism has to be highlighted. So he refused to sign that joint statement. So India, pretty much has made it clear even before the bilateral where it stands on these issues. And you are an expert as far as trade is concerned. You know that the trade deficit between India and China is growing. And that has been Achilles' heel as far as India is concerned. So perhaps India is looking to bring some sort of a balance as far as trade deficit is concerned. All the other issues have been discussed before this bilateral. So, let's see what comes out. Let's see what comes out after the bilateral talks.
Well, that's right. In fact, I was going to come to the point that you made, Swati, about Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, because that became a big headline when he refused to sign the joint statement, the key document there of the SCO members, because it did not mention the Pahalgam attack, but included militant activities for sure. And that also goes to show the importance a country like India really has. India is no longer a country that can be, treated as, for granted. Its views are extremely important. If something wrong is happening on our soil, then the world will have to take note of it and will have to condemn those who are responsible, even if it comes, condemning Pakistan, the all-weather friend of China. So India made its stand absolutely clear. I'm just interrupting you there, Swati. Request you to please stay on with us. We have a guest, in fact, also with us right now, Anil Trigunath, who is a former ambassador, joining us on the broadcast as well. Sir, good evening. Thank you for speaking with us here on Times Now. Firstly, I want to ask you, what is it that you are looking forward to from Prime Minister's visit to China for the SCO Summit?
Well, personally, for me, it looks like while SCO Summit is virtually a routine, what is more important in this case is essentially the bilateral component of the visit, for which both sides have been working on since last year, at least after Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping met in Kazan. So there appears to be a greater desire on the sides of both sides to essentially iron out the differences, create some confidence-building measures, especially at a time when the global system is virtually being hijacked by hegemonism to a great extent. So we'll have to see how far the hegemonism of China can be stunted while we are dealing with another hegemon. So this is something that's going to be quite an interesting time. Of course, Shanghai Cooperation Organization has been there, and where we have Pakistan, which is also a sponsor of terrorism, as a member, and causes all kinds of problems. And the fact that irony of that organization, in my view, is that despite the fact that you have a country that sponsors terrorism, is shielded and a part of it. And so, therefore, that is going to be a major challenge for us to get it. I hope this time they are very clear and are able to talk about Pahalgam attacks and everything. Those kind of terror attacks that have happened in Yemen are brought up, and there is a genuine desire to fight against terrorism. Now, for that, China's role is very, very important. So a lot will depend exactly what kind of signals and the statements actually come from China on the critical and core issues of our concern. But there's a desire for moving forward, try to work out in trade and investments and the P2P connect. Those are very important, and China has already made the beginning by that yatra and everything else.
But, sir, on one hand, of course, we know China is Pakistan's all-weather friend. So I want to ask you, will China call out Pakistan for what it does with India repeatedly, for how it was involved in the dastardly terror attack in Pahalgam as well? At a time when we see signs of some kind of efforts being made by China as well, it seems that both countries want to take that road to normalcy, isn't it?
You see, China and India are two independent, powerful countries. Pakistan is an appendage for the Chinese regional designs, and therefore it is extremely important for the strategy of the regional strategy, not the global strategy in that sense. And therefore, calling out openly, I doubt very much it will happen. But you see the BRICS statement, which happened where cross-border terrorism was mentioned. If somehow we are able to get that same wording here, that would perhaps be an indirect reference to Pakistan. Of course, they might say it is also in the context of Afghanistan and all that. But let us see how it eventually plays out.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking with us here on Times Now and sharing with us your perspective and your expectations from Prime Minister's visit to China for the SCO Summit. Of course, all eyes are going to be on that crucial bilateral as well between the two leaders. Meanwhile, we've got some voices from the ground from China. Here's what members of Indian diaspora there in China had to say.
Of course, I was like blackout when he saw him. I don't know, I've been waiting him for a long time. So as soon as we just thanked him, so excited, very grateful to him. I would like to thank him for visiting here and honoring everybody of us. Thank you so much.
Very good, interacting with the Prime Minister.
What did you say to him?
No, we just said that we've been waiting for you for quite a long because, obviously China is very big and people travel across. A lot of people have come in. There was excitement all around. And you know how popular our Prime Minister is and the kind of work that he is doing for the country. Looking forward, it was his visit after 7 years and very excited. He's very popular in China.
Well, it's so excited, and I think we do our best. And I think the Prime Minister, he like our music, classical music. It's so exciting and honor. Thank you. Thankful.
You all took picture with the Prime Minister as well.
Yes, he is a so nice person. I never expected, but today I'm so excited.
मैं बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस रहा. मैं शंघाई से आया हूँ. मैं इधर में एक साइंटिस्ट का काम करता हूँ. तो मोदी साहब का पिछले बार जब चाइना में आया था तब मेरे इधर में नहीं था, अब भी आया, हाथ मिला सका। मोदी जी को मैं देखा सामने के लिए, ये इतना बिलियन ऑफ पॉपुलेशन है 2 कंट्री का, इसमें बहुत सेक्टर का डेवलपमेंट होना चाहिए, बहुत अपॉर्चुनिटी है। मेरा बायोटेक सेक्टर में बहुत अपॉर्चुनिटी है, तो इधर में चाइना में बहुत मैं काम कर रही हूँ, एक्सपीरियंस है, तो मुझको पता है। मोदी साहब भी बायोटेक्नोलॉजी में उधर में कर रहे हैं, तो अभी 2 कंट्री में इतना पॉपुलेशन का अंदर इंडस्ट्री का बहुत डेवलपमेंट है। मोदी जी का जो कहना है परफॉर्म, रिफॉर्म एंड ट्रांसफॉर्म, यस एक्सीलेंट, दिस इज द एक्सीलेंट।
मेरा नाम श्रीहर्ष है, मैं हैदराबाद से हूँ। बीजिंग में 3 साल से हूँ। सो ये इवेंट के लिए आया था, तो इट वाज लाइक वेरी सरियल मोमेंट टू मीट प्रधानमंत्री जी, लाइक उनको देखना, इतना नजदीक से देखना। और इट वाज लाइक very good. Like, I mean, I was shocked, stunned, and unable to speak anything, but it was good. Like, I was able to shake his hand. Like, it was touching him. I was like feeling a surreal moment.
So you heard what the members of Indian diaspora there in China had to say after meeting Prime Minister Modi there, and they were extremely happy that he is visiting China. Let's also take a look at some of the other reports sent to us by my colleague Swati Joshi from China.
The fact that the Prime Minister agreed to attend the SCO Summit after 7 long years in itself is an indication of the relationship improving. Remember, both leaders, both Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Xi Jinping, the President of China, met in Kazan, after which we saw multiple measures and steps taken by both sides. The resumption of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, the issuance of visas after 5 years to Chinese nationals by India, and both countries talking about resuming direct flights. So these are all indications that India and China finally want to move ahead of the challenges that we've witnessed in the recent couple of years, especially the time that we saw after the Galwan clash. Now, in terms of both the countries coming together, US has also played a very big role. US tariff episode has brought India and China closer because it's a mutual concern. And remember, China is one of those countries that has openly taken a stand for India, hitting out at America, saying this is bullying and this is unacceptable to levy a 50% tariff on India, and that we should stand up against it. That was China's statement. Remember, when the foreign minister, Mr. Wang Yi, came to India, he met with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. He also met with NSA Ajit Doval and later with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, what were the issues that he was discussing? He was talking about the border issue. We have seen disengagement at Demchok and Depsang. That in itself was a big indication that both countries want ties finally to normalize. But there are contentious issues as well, and you know, the trade deficit between India and China has now grown to $99.2 billion, something that always is a big concern. China wants a bigger access of the Indian markets. India wants to balance out the trade deficit, and US is watching this development very, very closely, because remember, if US wants to compete with China, then it wants India as a partner. But Donald Trump in the recent past month has not taken even a single step that can boost that kind of confidence that US really trusts or respects India as an ally. And that's the reason why India also has started diversifying its strategy. It is looking at other countries as well. It is looking at other markets, because if United States of America believes that it can dictate its terms, then well, India is not ready for it. And the fact that India also refused to give any sort of credit to Donald Trump for brokering peace or ceasefire like Donald Trump claims has irked Donald Trump. Remember, he is one of those self-announced peacemakers or mediators. Donald Trump is one of those self-announced mediators who is looking for a problem to solve. And India has made it absolutely clear that, great, you're an ally, good that we do trade, let's maintain a healthy relationship. But when it comes about sovereignty, well, US has no rights to dictate. And the Prime Minister has made that clear time and again when he said, I'm willing to make personal sacrifices to put the interests of farmers, as a top priority. So that speaks volumes about where India, China are headed and where US and China are headed at this point of time. Cooperation and confrontation, that's how one can define the relationship between India and China. We've seen cooperation, but we've also seen confrontation. And those are the challenges that the External Affairs Minister was talking about, that we've seen some challenges in our tenure, but it's time to move ahead. When you have unresolved border issues, these things are going to come up every single time, and that's why you need long-term solutions. Is that going to happen? We see a bonhomie now. Of course, will the bonhomie continue is also another thing that both India and China have to ponder, have to think upon. And of course, the groundwork was laid when the foreign minister of China came to India for a visit, when he spoke about the border issues with NSA Ajit Doval, when he spoke about trade and other matters with the foreign minister, and ultimately he met Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This meeting between Xi Jinping and Narendra Modi speaks volumes about how both countries now want to perhaps focus on issues that are going to ensure a strong relationship and bring about regional stability, because it's not just about India and China, it's about the entire region, about the entire Asian region. And like experts have been talking about, this is something that Donald Trump is worried about at the moment, or the West is worried about at the moment, that West's dominance is reducing, and it's time that that America and Europe realize that and acknowledge that. They have to acknowledge that the India-China-Russia bond, as it grows, it strengthens not just SCO, but it also strengthens the BRICS, something that Donald Trump is not very happy about. And that's the reason why perhaps the entire world is watching very closely which way India and China relationship will go. But one thing is clear, that India wants it to grow, that China also is putting in equal efforts to ensure that the trust deficit